So on today's Academy lesson, we're going to talk about something that's very important in the world of card magic in false counts. Now, I know I've done tutorials for Elmsley counts on my YouTube channel. However, today I want to go over a couple different false counts that you guys might need to use in your journey through card magic. So I thought I'd go through a couple, show you guys how to do them, and then later on in a different episode, show you maybe some tricks that you could do with these false counts. Because all in all, false counts are a very useful sleight to learn. They allow you to hide a card. They allow you to apparently have more cards in your hand than you do. They let you hide the back color of cards. There's so many things you could do with false counts that really you can make up an entire subsection of magic on its own. So for this, we're going to be using the aces and the joker. The joker, of course, is going to be the card that we're trying to conceal. Now, the first thing is the Elmsley count. Now, the Elmsley count is something that I've taught on the channel, so I'm going to cover it here briefly. However, the Elmsley count serves the purpose of hiding the third card from either the face down packet. So in this case, the joker is third from the bottom. So in this case, if I do an Elmsley count, that joker is hidden. You didn't see the back design of that joker at all, and it's on the bottom now. So that is the purpose of it. If I did a face up, you would see that the joker would not be seen. And apparently the only thing you would see are the four aces. Now that is the purpose of the Elmsley count. You're going to see that there's another very similar count I'm going to teach you called the Jordan count, which is again accomplishes the same thing, but this time it allows you to cover the card in the bottom. Now where this is a useful sleight, imagine this card is face down and you need to show four face up cards. Well, it's very easy to do with the Elmsley count, or same thing if the card is face up. If the card is face up, third from the top, it's very easy to do an Elmsley count and show apparently four face down cards while concealing that card being face up. So this allows for a number of different packet tricks and a number of different applications that you guys are definitely going to learn in your journey through magic. So let's get to the explanation for this. So we're going to leave the joker face up just for explanation's sake. You're going to hold the packet in your left hand. Now in the YouTube video, I did discuss the idea of using your forefinger and your thumb to pinch and cause a little bit of pressure. So what that's going to do is that if you notice, if you pinch with your thumb and your forefinger, it's actually going to shoot out all the other cards here on the bottom. So what my forefinger and thumb are doing is that they're pushing all those three other cards downward and to the right. What this is going to allow me to do is come in with my left hand and pinch this entire block with my right hand. So all I'm doing is separating this top card by pinching with my thumb and my forefinger, which allows me to come in and take these cards, three cards supposedly. Now comes the action of the Elmsley count. I'm going to use my thumb to push off the top two cards as one card. That's going to be the most difficult part of this count, is pushing it off smoothly without having the edges of the card show. So this is just a knacky thing. However, just my best advice to give you guys is make sure that it's an even pressure of the thumb. If it's not an even pressure, then the cards are going to split. So make sure that it's an even and consistent pressure, and the cards are going to push off as one each and every single time. So I think of it in my head as I'm trying to just show that bottom card as opposed to pushing off two cards. That's the way I see it in my head, and that's the way that has helped the most in order to accomplish the actual count itself. But I'm using my thumb to push off these two cards as one. Now at this point, you're going to do two actions at once, because this card is going to have to go underneath this packet at the same time that these two cards are going to be counted onto your left hand. It's a lot easier than it looks, don't worry. So we've done the push move. We've grabbed with our right hand. We're now pushing those two cards as one. So what's going to happen is that you're going to align this bottom card with these two top cards. So you're aligning this bottom card in your left hand with these two bottom cards. What this is going to allow you to do is press your thumb to take these two cards as one onto your left hand at the same time that now you're left showing two cards in your right hand that you could count on top. So let's go over that one more time. You have the joker third from the top. You've done the push move. So now you have three cards in his hand. You've pushed two. In this case, it beveled a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's just the border that shows, which is completely fine. So one more time, this bottom card is getting squared up with the bottom of the packet at the same time that my thumb is putting pressure, taking these cards onto my right hand. Now, you're going to have to play around with the finger placement because it's going to be different for everyone. For me personally, I like to keep my thumb around the middle, which is a little bit harder to do because imagine when you're taking those two cards as one, all that's holding them together is the pressure of my thumb being pushed against my hand. So it makes it a little bit harder, but you see that it looks a lot more convincing of a count. So one more time, pushing, 2 cards is 1. Card gets squared up with the bottom. My thumb takes these 2 top cards, which remember, includes the Joker hiding, onto my left hand. And now I could simply take the next card and then take the next card. Now, there's a wonderful subtlety by John Bannon for this particular move that allows for a little bit more of a convincing Elmsley count. And what that is let's say you've shown 4 jokers here, just like this, doing a frustration count, which is actually, let's just go over that briefly. You have a joker in the bottom, right? You're going to flash the bottom card, take the top card. Flash the bottom card, take the top card. Flash the bottom card, take the top card. And then lastly, flash this card. That's the frustration count. It's a very simple move. A lot of people think that it's not a convincing move, but first time I saw this, it definitely blew the pants off of old pig cake here. So you guys got a little bit of a bonus count here in the frustration count. We're actually going to go over the counts that show all the cards is the same on a different lesson. However, for this one, I just want to show you guys for the sake of explanation here. So imagine you have a joker on top. You do whatever color change you want and show that that joker is now an ace. When you turn over this entire packet, you could do an Elmsley count. However, when it comes to the face down card, you out jog it. So now you could very cleanly take it out, and it adds just a little bit of another layer of where did the joker go, and did the aces really turn into the joker. So that briefly, you're showing the jokers, supposedly. Now, when I put the joker on top, I'm getting a break and doing the shake change, just like this. So when I replace the ace and turn the entire packet, when I get to the point of the Elmsley count, when these 2 cards are being drawn onto my hand, I'm going to show this card, which is going to draw the eyes naturally to that face down card, which I out jog, and I could very cleanly show that it's an ace. So all in all, just in speed, we have the jokers here. Joker turns into an ace, and then we're able to show that in fact all the jokers have turned into aces. So that's just a little bit of a routine to show you guys that Bannon count. Now here's the thing about the Elmsley count. It's a very versatile move, and not only that, allows you to count more cards as 4. So let's say you have 5 cards, right? If you do the same action, you could count those 5 cards as 4. You're doing the same thing, you're just putting a little bit more pressure with the thumb when you're pushing off the block, and those 5 cards now act as 4. Same thing with 6 cards. You have 6 cards, same deal. Now, when you have more than 4 cards, a tip is to keep the cards so that the back is facing a spectator. So that way they don't see any sort of edges, because the giveaway here are the edges. And you want to make sure that when you push the cards, they don't see a massive amount of edges. Luckily for you, that's covered in the blur. So I would go up to 8 cards. I think that's the absolute limit. And that way you have to cover your angle significantly so the spectator doesn't see the actual edges. But there are some tricks that call for it with 7 cards, which are actually among my favorite tricks in all of Magic. If you look up the world famous 3-card trick by David Williamson or Fabulous 4 on Pyrotechnic Pasteboards with Greg Wilson, they're phenomenal tricks and allow for you to show apparently 3 cards to the spectator. You count 4. You go, wait, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. This is a world famous 3-card trick. It doesn't work with 4 cards. Oh boy. Take one out. Okay. That's not cool. Let's see, one more. I don't even know what's going on anymore. And you pretty much just play along the lines that you always have 4 cards for the world famous 3-card trick. Great trick. Again, David Williamson is an absolute genius, so you should look him up. So as far as the Elmsley count, that is one of the merits of it. Not only does it work to conceal cards, it works to count more cards as less cards. So you're counting 5, 6, 7, 8 cards as 4, which is a very useful thing to do, as well as concealing a card. So the next count is the Jordan count. The Jordan count accomplishes the same thing as the Elmsley count. The only difference is that the card starts on the bottom. So as opposed to having the card third from the face, the Jordan count allows for that card to stay on the bottom. And when you complete the Jordan count, it should just look like you counted 4 cards onto your left hand. And now that actually puts the Joker third from the face of the deck. Yeah, let's get that focus here. So the Jordan count is very similar mechanics to the Elmsley count. However, only difference is that the card starts on the bottom. So for this, the card's going to be on the bottom, right? We're going to leave it face up for the sake of explanation here. You're going to count 1 card onto your left hand. Now this time, instead of pushing off a block, we're actually going to count another card singly onto the left hand. So we're counting the first 2 cards legitimate onto the left hand. Now, this is simply done by putting pressure, which is going to allow for friction of your left thumb to just take that initial first card onto the left hand. So here is where the action differentiates from the Elmsley count, because here we're actually going to place these two cards as one, which you're trying to keep square, on the pile. And now when these two cards are on the pile, you're actually going to push off 3 cards onto the left hand as your right hand takes the bottom card. That is the mechanics of the Jordan count. So you're taking 1, you're taking 2. Now when you square these 2 cards up with the packet, now your thumb is pushing off 3 cards and taking that bottom card, and that acts as the final count. So that is the Jordan count, very similar to the Elmsley count. However, the difference is that the card starts on the bottom as opposed to having to be third from the top. So this has many merits in different packet tricks. For example, let's say you can't get the card convincingly to the third position and you have to do it with the card on the bottom. That's what the Jordan count is for. However, it pretty much accomplishes the same thing as an Elmsley count. The next count is known as the buckle count. Now, the buckle count, this accomplishes a number of things. When used right now in this situation, what it's going to do is that it's going to hide the joker. So you notice we have 4 aces, and we have a joker that we want to conceal. So if we want to count the cards, just like this, what a buckle count allows us to do is to show the 4 aces and not show that joker in a convincing way. At the same time, the buckle count also allows to count several cards as a smaller number of cards. So if we want to count these 5 cards as 4, a buckle count allows us to do that fairly easily. Or same thing with 6 or even 7. You've seen this in multiple repeat routines where a magician shows that they only have a certain number of cards and it keeps adding on. But for this case, we're using it to conceal the joker. So the way the count looks is just like this. We're showing all 4 aces. There's no sign of the joker. And we could even spread the cards and show that there's no joker there. Of course, you're not going to say there's no joker, but you're concealing it nevertheless. So for this, the joker is going to start second from the face of the stack here, second from the face. And you're going to count the aces one at a time. So you're going to use your thumb to push off the aces and count it one at a time. So you're going to count the first one, show the back, count the second one, show the back. Now, when it gets to showing the back of the second one, you're doing the action here, which is you're going to buckle the bottom card. Now you're going to put pressure on the upper right corner with your forefinger and your thumb. What this is going to do is that this is going to separate this bottom card from these top 2 cards. However, that's going to give you enough of a gap for you to come in there and reach into that gap with your right hand to allow you to show the back of that ace of spades. Remember, that's the actual back of the joker, but it's being hidden by the actual buckle itself. And this allows you to show this last card very, very cleanly and show that there's nothing there to begin with. So you could just display it very cleanly and there's no other cards apparently in the hand. So let's just go over that one more time. You count this, show the back of it. Count that one, show the back of it. At the same time they're showing the back of this one, you're doing the action, which is the buckle. So when your hand comes down, you could take these 2 cards as one, show the back of the ace, and lastly show the ace of diamonds. So that is the buckle count. It's a very useful move. And let's say you have more cards in your hand. We're going to do this face down. You could easily use it to count those 7 cards, supposedly. Let's say we have 6 cards and we're trying to count them as 4. So the buckle might work to show 4 cards as opposed to 6. So we're doing the exact same actions. We're just buckling. This time we're hiding a packet of 3 as opposed to that 1. So you see that this is a very versatile count because we could hide multiple cards behind that 3rd card. So it's a very versatile count. There's a lot of uses for the buckle count, but this is the most basic. Now this one is a very interesting one, and it's called the Hammond count, Brother John Hammond. Now this is usually done to count an odd number of cards in your hand when you really have a different number. So in this case, we have 5 cards, and we can count this as 9 cards. So you see that it's pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards when we only have 5. You see the versatility of this sort of move, because only using 5 cards, we could give the illusion that we have more than 5, which is kind of insane considering how fair the actual count itself looks. So let's get into the mechanics of this. And if you do a face up, by the way, it could actually be used to hide this back card. So for example, let's say you want to show these 4 aces. It's the same rules apply. You could just show the 4 aces and conceal that last card. So in this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 aces. And you don't see that joker. So that's another little bit of a merit that this count has. But first, let's talk about it from a counting perspective. So what's going to happen is that you're going to count. You're going to hold the cards in middle grip here. You're going to peel them off one at a time in your hand. Now, the action comes when you're going to switch package, because that's essentially what you're doing. So let's say we've dealt all the cards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're only left with one card. We want to count these 4 again. We're actually going to switch these 2 for this. So the action is going to be that we're apparently counting one more card. However, what's really happening is that we're counting this card while simultaneously stealing the rest of the cards in the right hand. So we're counting the cards. Let's say we're down here to 4. We're left with the last card. We're going to hold the card with our middle finger and our thumb. Now, when our thumb comes in to apparently count this one off, our ring finger makes contact with the entire packet. So that now my thumb and my ring finger are putting pressure on that packet. So when my thumb up here counts this card off, that packet's being taken by my ring finger and now my middle finger, now that it's free. So at speed, I'm counting the cards onto my left hand. I'm going to supposedly count this next card. However, in that action of counting, my thumb's coming here putting pressure. My left thumb's putting pressure on this top card. My ring finger's putting pressure, holding that packet, and that packet's now taken to the right, and this packet could be counted once again. So at speed, it should just look like you're counting the cards. However, you're switching the packets, which is a great, great technique to do. There are more advanced handlings of this in reset style routines, but this is just the most basic handling of the actual count itself. And it's a very versatile move because you are apparently counting those cards in your hand very fairly and very slowly even, and you have right here 5 cards that are counting as 9. So very, very useful move to do. Now, if you want to hide the joker in the back, same action applies. This time, you're not going to count these cards as 9 because that kind of ruins the bit here. So what's going to happen is that you're going to count 1 card, you're going to count 2 cards, and now here's where you do the switch. So you have 3 cards here, and the same rules apply. Your ring finger comes in contact, your thumb puts pressure, which is going to add those 3 cards to the left hand. And now you could count this one and this one finally, and you've shown 4 aces while concealing this back joker. So at speed, it should just look like you're counting the cards. Again, I wouldn't do this necessarily with the aces because there's a discrepancy with the spade. So with kings, this flies. Nobody's going to tell unless they're Rain Man and they're looking at and they go heart, club, heart, club. Wait, I saw 2 hearts and 2 clubs. You're fooling me. Nobody's going to do that, which is why I would do this, for example, with the kings. So there's no discrepancy in the count there. But that is the Hammond count. This last one's a little bit of a fun one. It's known as the quick 3-way. And the way I've seen this done is in a color Monty routine. So color Monty is a trick that's manufactured by pretty much mostly every Magic company. And it brings certain cards that allows you to do a little bit of a 3-card Monty routine. And you show a little bit of a twist at the end where 1 card has been hidden the entire time. So the way this looks like is that you show a joker in the bottom. You're able to show a joker on top. And you're able to show a joker in the middle. But in reality, you have 4 aces here if you want. Now, usually this is done with 3 cards, so we're going to go over it with 3 cards, and I'll show you how to apply it with more cards in a bit. So let's say you want to show the joker 3 times quickly, which is the point of the count. So you show the bottom card, you're going to hold this little packet, you're going to show the bottom card and say the joker's on the bottom. Now, what's going to happen is that you're going to come in, you're going to push back the top card, and here, you're going to put pressure on the joker, which is the bottom card, so that when you use your middle finger to push up this middle card and out jog it, the bottom card aligns with the top card. So one more time, you're pushing back on the top card. Now my thumb is here in the back because when my middle finger is putting pressure to push that out jogged card forward, my thumb is going to act as a stopper so that that bottom card doesn't keep going. So one more time here in action. We're pushing back to show this middle card. We're going to push this middle card forward with our thumb. And now the bottom card and the top card are now aligned. So I could pinch these 2 cards as one and turn it face up on top of this pile. But really, it's a double. So one more time. You've shown the bottom card. You've pushed this one back, pushed this one forward. This is now a double that I could take to show the joker supposedly on top. Now, I've kept a break. That's something that's useful. That's going to help you out in aiding this move. So when you're doing this part where you're pushing it forward and turning over these 2 cards as one, I've kept a break. So now I could do a double lift and show that the middle card is also a joker. So that's just turning over the double and spreading the cards, showing that now the middle card's a joker. But you see kind of the convincing here that you show the top card, the bottom card, and the middle card to all be jokers in a fairly convincing way. So you're showing bottom card, you're out jogging that card over here, pinching these two cards as one. Remember, this is the bottom card. This is the situation that's happening here. So I'm pinching these two cards and turning them over as one. Now I can turn this whole thing over and show this middle card as well to be a joker. So you can see how this works for a Monty style routine, because now, let's say the joker happens to be the X card. You could show that, in fact, you have 3 jokers and they don't have any chance to win. At the same time, now you could show that they have 3 aces and they have every chance to win, because the game's really up to you. It's not up to the person that's playing. And then, of course, this is concealed, this card, the entire time, and this could be the kicker card, and you could show that, oh, you have a joker here, you have an ace, which leads us with this card. What is this card? Oh, it's another ace. You know, you could play around with that. Now, if you happen to have more cards, you could do a little bit of an interesting sort of little routine with it. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do because you are concealing 5 cards as 3. So keep that in mind with the edges. So you show the first joker. You do the exact same action. Only difference that before is that now this is, in fact, 4 cards playing off as 1. So make sure that the edges are, in fact, downward. You turn this whole pile over. You could biddle grip this pile. Use your left fingers to pull off 1 card, pull off another card, and now you could turn this card over and show that it is, in fact, a joker. Of course, all the cards being concealed here. So now, at the end of this little bit of a count, you actually have a wonderful twist, because now those supposed 3 cards that you showed as jokers have turned into the 4 aces. So the way we do that is that we're concealing the ace there. So one more time, we do the quick 3-way count here to show the jokers, peeling off this. And now when we turn this over, we place this pile on top. We could turn the whole thing after a magic move. And now the count that we're going to do is not really any sort of count attributed to anyone, but we're just going to use our fingertips down here to peel the aces one at a time onto the left hand. So we're peeling this one, or we're peeling this one, and we're peeling that one. Of course, this last one is a double, hiding the joker. Make sure to keep those cards square. And you have a little bit of a twist routine where you've shown supposedly 3 jokers and they've turned into the 4 aces. So not only do you have the joker transposition into the ace, you also have a number transposition where 3 cards have turned into 4. So that's a very nice little bit of a twist ending for a sort of Monty style routine where you show the spectators that you can make them win whenever you want, but it's up to you because you are, in fact, the operator. So those are counts. Those are a little bit of some tricks you guys could do with those counts, a little bit of bonuses thrown sporadically. But you see the versatility of counts. They allow you to do things with small packets of cards that play just as large as with an entire deck of cards. And there are so many packet tricks in the world of Magic. John Bannon has a lot of work in it. You see more modern Cameron Francis has a lot of work with smaller packets. Richard Sanders has a lot of tricks with it. I'm going to put more tricks, obviously, as the course goes by. But you guys have a basic understanding of the power of counts and their points. So you see what they do and what they don't do. Personally, my favorite is the Elmsley count just because of its versatility. You could do a lot of things with an Elmsley count, more than just hiding a card. So just keep that in mind. And I hope you guys enjoyed this particular lesson. I know it's been a little bit intensive in terms of talking about counts and stuff, but it is something that every magician should have in their tool belt. So thank you guys again for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you guys for being part of the Academy. I hope to see you guys on the next one.